If you were 2-7, you'd be in a bad mood too.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. And he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
Get your mouth shut. Get your mouth shut. Jerk.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
If worms had machine guns, then birds wouldn't be scared of them.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there? Welcome to a Word Hole Media presentation of the Limp Ditkins podcast. I'm Pete.
I'm Ryan. Welcome to the Limp Ditkins podcast. We are just a couple of Chicago pricks united by our hatred for University of Michigan football and the Chicago Bears. It is our Super Wildcard Weekend recap episode 34 of the LDP. We have lots of ridiculousness to talk about in this Super Wildcard Weekend. So I'm sure you're going to be interested in I'm definitely interested in your Cowboys thoughts, as we have not texted about this before. I've got plenty of thoughts about the LA Rams ruining the Lions' chances at the number 23 first round draft pick.
Continue to ruin the Lions draft pick.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. And we got the rest of the weekend to talk about, so there's lots of fun shit. So let's go ahead and kick this motherfucker off.
Well, I don't get to say how about them Cowboys this week because they got off to a bit of a slow start against the San Francisco 49ers and could not pull it out in the end. The game included some questionable play calling down the stretch, maybe could be said, or better, maybe lack of execution of said calls. But I'm going to break it down, folks. I'm going to break it down. Full breakdown.
There was a lot that happened in that game. I need your thoughts on about. I've got
things. 5 reasons the Cowboys lost.
Wow.
Number one. And I don't know why I believed this game would be different than most of their games this season. Key statistic in their 5 losses, and this has nothing to do with Greg Zuerlein. He's actually innocent this time. He made everything he was asked to do. Penalties. The Cowboys came into the league as the most penalized team in football.
Wow.
And
I feel like that's been a theme of the Cowboys franchise, or is that an anomaly this year? Or
no, it's a bit of a carryover from the Jason Garrett days. And this lack of discipline, this unforced error situation that the Cowboys continually have, are there situations, especially on offense and on defense, like free first downs, unexcusable. Just hold your position. I mean, you're talking about a defensive team that's guaranteed probably twice a game is going to be called offsides. Whether that's they just lined up in the neutral zone, which
is the worst. I can't.
That's inexcusable. Yeah. Like you have the judge there. You can even check with the judge.
Am I good?
Look over. Am I good? Every receiver does it. Every receiver lines up, looks over, checks, make sure he's on the line. So he's not. It's not an illegal procedure. Defender has the same situation. He could look over, make sure his fingers not over the line of scrimmage. So
that's inexcusable. The other, jumping the snap, that's something that has to be done to get every little advantage you can to get to the quarterback, to get in the backfield. So I think that happens on every play. It's just a matter of timing it perfectly or not. So those are excusable, but lining up in the neutral zone, that's the dumbest penalty in football.
Yeah, and let's be honest, the Cowboys' offensive line and their timeliness for getting holds or false starts in key moments of the game is it's got to be on the coaching staff for this. They are not a disciplined football team.
No.
and it's been that way for a long time. And this goes from coaching staff up to ownership, because it's a trend. And that's why there's probably rumors about Mike McCarthy getting fired, because
I laughed about that last week, and then I realized immediately watching that game why those rumors would be out there. I could fully understand why he might be on the hot seat, considering some of the things I saw in that game alone. So
so number one, penalties. Number two, and this kind of plays off the general lack of discipline, is general awareness on the field as to what's happening. And we saw it at the end of the game. I don't mind the draw play call because it was a chunk play. Here's where it went bad. I doubt they told Dak to run until his heart was content. I believe the play would have been run for the first down, get down.
Yes.
And then you don't hand the ball. You don't know the rules of the game. You don't hand the ball to your center. You hand the ball to the official. The official has to set the ball.
They kept citing the Larry Fitzgerald play a few years ago, where the similar situation where he ran the ball directly to the official because he was that aware of what was going on, and that's how every NFL player should be. But that seemed like they were pointing to that Larry Fitzgerald one because it was an anomaly, that he was the one that could be the example of doing it right, where there might not be that many examples. But at the same time, how could the center not understand that the ball has to be placed by the ref?
Oh yeah.
The center waits for the ref every day of his life. Every game he's ever played, every snap he's ever had, he's waited for the ref to place the ball for him. You can't place the line of scrimmage. And
he was lined up waiting for the ref to touch the ball.
Well,
that was the funny part of it. They weren't trying to snap it. He was just in position already, which he could have. Again,
he should have. They
were blocking the ref. The official was not allowed to get in there.
The giant asses were too close to each other, and he could not get through.
I mean, I love the fact that they had.
Dak was even in the way, actually.
Yeah. I love the fact they had an opportunity to not throw a 40-yard pass and have a 20-yard pass. But again, it only works if it's executed correctly. Right. And it would have been a 30 or 28-yard pass if it was executed correctly, which is you have a lot of more options of what you can do. You can create a lot of confusion in front in that. It's not this 45-yard drop back. So again, I don't mind the call. It's the execution where it fell apart. And it's also, let's be honest, this ref crew wasn't the greatest, and I'll get to that at the end. It's still not why the Cowboys lost.
Okay, I was wondering if you were going to go with that,
it's not why the Cowboys lost.
It's a contributing factor.
But it's a contributing factor. It's not the main factor. I've got 4 other things. The refs are number 5, and I'll get to that. But there are 4 things around the Cowboys.
Wow.
And then number 3 is just general execution in the first half. And I think the best example of that is a play that they ran a few times this season. They had like it was like a 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 20. And they got the ball to Cedric Wilson. And all Cedric Wilson had to do was throw a nice little lateral out to Tony Pollard, who was wide open and had all day to run. In fact, who knows what would have happened on that play, because he's got afterburners. It would have definitely been a first down. Everyone on TV said it. Instead, Cedric Wilson basically throws it to the sideline, not even near the direction of Pollard. That's a missed opportunity. The Cowboys have to punt that. And you have to execute. They executed a very similar play at the end of the game. They lateraled to CeeDee Lamb, who got a first down on a play just like that. And
that was nice. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, Winslow has a very creative offense, Kellen Winslow, but if the team can't execute it, if you don't have the talent on the field to execute it, what good is it? So
Kellen Moore?
Kellen Moore. I mean, God, I keep calling him. I keep thinking of the Cowboys player Winslow.
Oh,
I don't know why.
There's Kellen Winslow, the Hall of Fame tight end from the Chargers back in the day. There's Kellen Winslow Jr., who is in jail now for raping elderly women.
There's too many Winslows, and then Kellens and Moores. I can't keep track of them all. But Kellen Moore, runs a very creative offense, which of course makes him a candidate for head coach, which is another reason there's rumors of like, do we just ditch McCarthy and move him up versus losing him?
Wow.
I think that's probably a little aggressive, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens in upcoming weeks.
So in summary, in terms of your team's execution, you would be in favor of it.
In favor of what? Getting rid of McCarthy?
Them executed. Being
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That's the old joke. That,
Yes. You're right. Okay.
God damn it.
You did it as well as Brian Kelly.
I think I did it better. You just didn't get it.
I'm focused here, Smitty. I'm focused.
I didn't do it in a Southern accent. That's what would have helped probably.
And in regards to execution,
I'm in favor of
that. Now I understand it.
Damn it. We need to rehearse this shit.
I know. Shit. Number 4. I talked last week that the Cowboys defense is an opportunistic defense, and every opportunity the defense had in this game, they missed except one when Brown had that interception and the momentum started to go to the Cowboys' way in the second half. They had numerous balls that were tipped up in the air that they couldn't get to. They had numerous opportunities to get off the field and just couldn't quite stop that extra yard from happening. It was just like they were this close every time, but there was just, again, they had opportunities that they need to take advantage of that they were very good at all season that they didn't take advantage of against the 49ers. And finally, the refs.
Yeah.
And
refs did not have a banner weekend across the board. I think it's an endemic issue now. I mean, there are so many terrible calls, confusion on the field, lots of delays, but I think you could definitely place blame on the refs, but I think it's been pretty universal.
Yeah. And my question on that final play is, one of the issue I have with the ref is not the ref doing his job, the official doing his job. My question is, where the hell was he?
There's a couple things with that. Yeah, he was like 20 yards behind the play, and then he's sprinting.
Yes, it's like he stood there till the play was over instead of running with the play.
There's the all 22 cam, which is where you can see most of the field, and he's not even in the picture when that play ends, but he is sprinting up. So he's trying to do, but what was he doing before that? Why was he that far in the backfield? And again, I don't pay that much attention to what is he, the line judge, or who is he? I don't know what.
I don't even know what his title is.
Where they typically line up or how they typically follow a play, I think they have to remain quite a ways behind the play. But it was odd how much distance there was and how he wasn't even in the picture. The other part of that is he busted his ass to get up to the line. Then he couldn't get through, as we mentioned, because of the gigantic asses of your offensive line. We're not letting him through. And Dak was actually in the way at one point. He got the ball finally, got through the line, got the ball, spotted it just a little bit further back than your center had placed it. And then he moved it again. Like
it took over 3 seconds.
He placed the ball and then placed it. He's like, that's not right. I'll place it right here. And then
that was it.
Yeah. So that extra little beat is really what cost you the opportunity to even down the ball. I thought that was, he's trying his best, but that looked, everything about that looked bizarre.
The one part of the game, when I knew there were going to be official problems in this game, was the opening drive, where there were 3 replays that showed blatant holds on Micah Parsons, where his jersey was being pulled. It was plain as day. Now they adjusted it. It stopped happening, and you saw Parsons become a effective member of the defense and turn the game. He had a pretty good game. But that first drive, which turned out to be a scoring drive, it was pretty big that they didn't call any penalties on the 49ers that entire drive, and there were some blatant, like, again, there's holding on every play, but usually it's a little more discreet. It's up under the arms, whatever. You don't see it as blatantly. When you see jerseys getting pulled, I mean, again, it's the first drive of the game. It's 7-0. You got almost four quarters of football to play at that point. Like you can come back from that. But that being said, it leads me back to, did you really have faith in this officiating crew when you run that draw play that ball would be spotted on time?
You were putting a lot of things have to work out quite well for that to happen with 14 seconds left.
Yeah.
I have heard over and over again from coaches and analysts that the bare minimum is 18 seconds where you'd run that kind of play, which okay. It seems like it could have happened within 14 seconds, but I think the point there being is that you're counting on those elderly referees to get to a position to actually execute the play in a timely manner where, it didn't work out. I mean, I think you guys could have done a few mechanical things to actually help that by handing the ref the ball instead of lining up and making him dive
work
line.
Really hard to get there.
Yeah. But it's just putting a lot of onus on things you don't control. I think that's where the 18 seconds comes from. And you pointed out the main issue is Dak just needed to get the first down and fall down. He didn't need to get those 10 extra yards, which cost another 2 or 3 seconds right there. But well, I am proud of you for not blaming the refs. Number one, they're definitely a factor, but yeah, I think you've got the proper perspective. I would put a sixth one on your list.
Oh, go ahead.
Reasons they lost, and I'm going to blame Jerry World.
Oh, you're talking about the sun when Cedric Wilson couldn't even see the ball thrown at him?
Who the fuck builds a stadium that faces east or west with windows? I've never seen that ever. Have you? I mean, you watch every Cowboys game. So have you ever seen that come into play before? Was it a strange?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a bizarre time of year or a time of day that game was played.
No, it's a problem at that time of day when they play a late game. When they play the second game of the day, it's always an issue. And
you can't blame the receiver for that. When they showed that replay, it's like God was coming down from heaven in his face. Like, how would you possibly see a little football flying towards you?
And people have said, "Oh, well, I mean, like if it was an open door stadium, if it's an open door stadium, it's not compressed coming through a prism of glass, which just enhances it." Yeah, like Jerry, it's great. I love the idea of that. You got to put a coating on that freaking window for everybody.
They have curtains, I guess, but they look tacky. They use them for concerts or whatever, but they don't look very good during the game, so they don't use them there. But Jesus, I mean, this wasn't a factor in the game, but you had another punt that bounced off that giant jumbotron.
That's been a while for that.
What? I mean, you just replay the down, but that's just ridiculous that could even happen. So I just thought it was two examples of how Jerry World, in maybe not directly influenced the game, it had some kind of effect, at least on that one. Yeah, I mean
that's a first down. That play was a first down, or at least a 4th and 1. All he had to do was fall forward and could have had a first down if he caught it, but he couldn't fucking see it because, like you said, God, the image of God was shining down upon him. It was like the Holy Grail.
I was thinking the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, that too.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, it was horrific. Before I
have a couple more questions.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Number one, fake punt. Beautiful execution, got the fake punt. I think it was the 4th quarter. But why do you line up for a punt right after that when it is now first down?
I have yes.
Have you ever heard? Have you heard an explanation for that yet? I've never heard a satisfactory. I'm sure he has it.
I think the only explanation was they thought they could confuse the Rams into leaving the punt unit.
49ers.
49. Jesus. Yeah. The 49ers on the field, leaving their special teams on the field.
Yeah.
But why would any coach in their right mind do that after a first down was had? And
Well,
then
the idea
again,
would,
they
from
couldn't get the
there-
ball set in time.
Well,
Again,
yeah.
or first. That's the first. That's why you have to question. They couldn't get the ball set in time in a fucking 25-second countdown clock scenario.
Yeah, because that's where you got the delay of game penalty after.
Yes.
But the logic behind that, it's like, think of the 49ers thought process. You're going to punt on first down. It might be confusion for a second. It's like, well, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's a punt. Like, what do we have to worry about here?
Cowboys are playing the field position game at that point.
They're playing fucking mind games on themselves.
On themselves. Yeah.
That's where I started to question Mike McCarthy. And I've felt embarrassed that I was questioning why he might possibly be on the hot, or I laughed at why he'd be on the hot seat last week. And now it's like, oh, maybe I haven't paid much attention this year to the interesting decision making of McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, the minute the Rams starting defense was just standing there was no reason for the Cowboys to try to continue to convince them they were going to run a play with the special teams.
Well, yeah, because then you had to run your offense onto the field.
Which started at 15 seconds. They ran the offense onto the field.
And you have to give the defense time to adjust by rule to make substitutions, and that's how you got
a delay a game.
Yeah, yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about there's a nice unforced error that could have been avoided.
My final question is about the composure, the comportment of your Cowboys fan brethren in the stands.
You mean the crying?
There was crying for one thing. There was a lot of crying, and I'm guessing there's probably a lot of crying in every game, every playoff game.
They found everyone.
They found everyone.
I mean, when the Cowboys were like looking like they were going to come back and win it, that girl in white was crying. I'm like, are you watching what's happening? They look like they're going to win.
But after the game, the throwing of, I'm pretty sure there was all plastic bottles, nothing necessarily dangerous, but there's lots of things being thrown at. This is my question. Were they being thrown at the refs or being thrown at your Cowboys players? Because
it was later confirmed it was directed at the refs. I don't know if they went and questioned each and every
players got hit.
Yes.
I don't know if any ref got hit, but you could see, I forget who it was, but he batted away really athletically. It was a perfect play. He batted away a plastic bottle with his helmet. It was perfect, but you can't condone throwing anything
either way. And I was embarrassed for Dak, who, when he was told that they were throwing it at the refs, he's like kind of condoned it.
I kind of like it.
Kind of enforced it.
Yeah, that's not a good look, but I think I thought it was funny. I'm glad he said it almost, but
yeah, but there's no reason to throw stuff. That's not gonna frustration. Yes. And you know why Cowboys fans are frustrated, Smitty? You kind of know. You haven't won a playoff game in a while, but let me give you something. Let me give you a laugh this morning.
Oh boy.
In the last 25 seasons,
ooh,
Jake Delhomme and Aaron Sanchez have won 5 playoff games. Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson and Colin Kaepernick, who's been out of the league for at least.
How long was he even in the league? Like 3 years?
3 seasons, maybe. Have each won 4 playoff games. The Cowboys have only won 3 as a team. So if you want to, level set expectation that doesn't ever, a team that doesn't ever meet expectation, look, the Cowboys should be probably number 1 in the dictionary.
Boy. Yeah, that's rough. I saw, has it been 11? I'll probably get this wrong. I think it's 11 seasons since you reached out of the second round of the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah. It was with Romo.
NFC Championship, or I forget what it was, but yeah, I mean, I think it
was the Packers game. The non-catch game.
Oh, that's right. Well, if I'm going to pile on here and make another lame joke, I talk about my SOL all the time. I think for the Cowboys, it's SUC, same underachieving Cowboys.
A little suck.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to do it, but
that's fine.
Well, I think that transitions us awkwardly into my SOL segment for the week, as somehow the Lions always come up, even when the Lions are as far as they've ever been from the playoffs. Mainly because of last night's Rams-Cardinals game. And of course, the specter of Matt Stafford will never leave Detroit. No matter what happens with Matthew Stafford for the rest of his career, it will always be tied to the failures in Detroit, and Lions fans will be fighting over how to perceive the Matt Stafford era and how to address it going forward. As I was originally thinking it was a 50-50 split between Lions fans rooting for the Rams last night or rooting against the Rams. Those of us rooting against the Rams were only rooting in that vein to get a better draft pick, as the Lions have the Rams #1 draft pick this year and next year. The worse the Rams do this year, the better that pick will be. And the Lions had a shot at the number 23 pick if the Rams had lost last night. The other half, which I thought was a half of Lions fans population, were rooting for the Rams simply because they love Matt Stafford and they think he deserves good things. That's literally a quote I got on Twitter from some people I was in a bit of a battle with. I don't think it's 50-50 though. I'm convinced, based on social media, those calling into Detroit Sports Talk Radio over the weekend, especially yesterday morning, I think it's like 70-30. More Lions fans are rooting for Matt Stafford than actually rooting for the Lions. And in a way, I can't really blame them, considering how god-awful the Lions franchise is and how spiteful we should be towards them for being so incompetent for all of our lives. So in a way, I don't blame fans for gravitating towards the quarterback, that gets headlines, that is now moving on to bigger and better things. The quarterback, a lot of this I think is generational. I think this is a younger Lions demographic that is embracing Matt Stafford versus old fucks like me who have a larger perspective on the Lions history and don't hold Matt Stafford in such high regard. But there are definitely battle lines, as my SO Lions Twitter account got into the middle of many spats last night and over subsequent weeks. But the argument essentially is, what's the difference between the number 23 pick and number, even worst case scenario, number 32 pick? Well, the difference is math. I don't know how else to approach this other than logically. 32 is not as good as having the number 23 pick. It's just empirically not. The argument on the other side is purely emotional, tying to your favorite childhood quarterback, wishing upon him good things because he's a nice guy, and maybe you're hot for his wife. Who knows? But those are where the battle lines are drawn, and somehow the Rams, even in the NFL playoffs, like I said, as far away as the Lions are, the Lions were not far behind. As of course it's brought up every time in any Matthew Stafford broadcast, how he had never won a playoff game with the Lions, had not won a playoff game in his career until last evening. Of course, he gets it done in his first attempt outside of the Lions organization in dominating fashion.
He was dialed in. Like he was back to MVP candidate in that game. He was dropping fucking balls in there like nobody's business.
He dropped a total of 13 balls in there.
Perfectly though, right?
Well, I'm going to argue with you, unless you're being facetious, but I would argue that the Rams would have won that game if I was their quarterback last night.
Whoa.
Matt Stafford did throw. He was 13 of 17 for 202 yards. But the story of that game was the Rams ran the ball 38 times for 140 yards. They had no chance.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
It seems a theory that I've expressed.
Aha.
I didn't even bring that up in the Cowboys segment. They ran the ball like fucking 15 times. But anyway.
Well, I just think it's pretty obvious that, the Rams were going to win that game one way or the other. Their defense was completely stifling. Kyler Murray did not look like he belonged on a pro football field, which I thought was bizarre.
because he's headed to baseball. So
yeah. Well, I felt like he was an MVP candidate in the first half of the season. I think
that's what everyone said.
Well, guess what happened? The Lions, of all teams, figured out the combination to break the Cardinals. And since then, they have lost 5 of 6 games. So once again, the Lions are the architects of their own demise. Not only did they beat the Cardinals and lose to the Rams earlier in the season, which set up a home game for the Rams last night against those Cardinals, they showed the league how to stop Kyler Murray and their offense. They were the first team that stopped Arizona. Now every defensive coordinator is looking at what the Lions did in that game and have exploited that. Literally, the Rams have, or the Cardinals have not recovered from that Lions game. So, and yet another cruel twist of fate, the Lions are fucking themselves once again. So whatever. I mean, now it is, Matt Stafford moves on and the Rams move on to Tampa Bay. They are a 3-point underdog there. I think we all know Tampa Bay is a far more legit playoff team than the Cardinals looked like in the second half of the season. So this would be the last night was the only time that Matt Stafford was favored in a playoff game, as the Rams were favored. Do you remember the line on that? I forget what it was, but I'm sure they covered.
It was +4. They were 4.5.
No, I thought it'd be more than that. But once again, Matt Stafford is the underdog. I don't see how they have a chance against a legit team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as it will be in Tampa. So I forget or I haven't looked up what the draft pick would be if they lose this weekend, but I'm hoping that I can root again against Matt Stafford and actually rooting for Tom Brady, which puts me in a very awkward state, as I'm not a fan in any way, but I don't know. I think the good time train for Matt Stafford ends this weekend. Did you have thoughts about last night's game specifically, though?
Last night's game? I mean, it was
boring
pretty boring.
Yeah.
I finished Rounders, watched most of the second quarter. Halftime, I turned it back off again and turned on Righteous Gemstones. Then went back to the game, and it looked like Arizona. I saw Arizona score, and I'm like, okay.
I was shocked.
It's early. It's early enough. Maybe Matt gets frazzled. Starts.
They didn't give him the opportunity. They let him throw 17 times. So.
They said, "Hey, you're going to be a game manager today because we want to win."
Well, that brings up a good point. Does that work against Tampa? I mean, can they hide Matt Stafford again? Is that possible against that defense and against the high scoring Tampa Bay offense?
I mean, the Buccaneers defense wasn't, like they weren't as stifling as they were last year. They have a lot of holes this year. Mm-hmm. So, it all boils down to if the Rams can get off the ball and run just like they did against the Arizona this week, then they probably, I'm not saying they'll win the game, but it's going to be a close game then, because if you can keep Tom Brady off the field, and tire out the Bucs defense, and like one pass I will note that really impressed me from Stafford was Jefferson was covered pretty damn well, and he caught it he put it right in there, like just fell. It was like it dropped out of the sky right into his pocket. And like you said, he definitely, they saved him from himself that game, only throwing 17 passes, but he made them count. And but again, you run the ball 38 times successfully, you're going to win a lot of freaking football games.
They had a lot of massive chunk runs early in the game too.
I pretty much, I bet if we looked at outside of the Chiefs game, I bet if we looked at most of the stats from the winners this weekend, they ran the ball close to 30 times. I know the 49ers, got over 30 carries successfully, very successfully. So that that is a success to winning, controlling the clock. I mean, it's simple. Football is really
It's not complicated.
It's not complicated. It all comes down again to execution. And that's why you see teams when they're rebuilding, they start drafting offensive linemen, and it's not a very exciting pick. But if you got a bunch of first round offensive linemen on your team, suddenly you're going to like those picks a lot better down the road.
Well, that's what I've been talking about all year with the Lions. I love the Penei Sewell pick, and they have built their line. That's why I have a little bit of a positive feeling going into this next season. If they can supplement that with 2 number 1 first round draft picks, all the better. I think one final little factoid before I move on to another game influenced by where the Lions came out, but just to support my idea that I could have been a quarterback on that field for the Rams last night.
Yes.
Odell Beckham threw a pass. He's 1 for 1 for 40 yards. So he gained 20% of what Matt Stafford did the whole game on one pass. That's how what a dominant offensive performance that the Rams had over that. So literally anyone could have been out there, but
there you go.
We'll never know if I could have done it or not. We'll see. The Lions did come up in another playoff game after this playoff game in Cincinnati this weekend, as Cincinnati defeated the Los Angeles Raiders. That was a fun game. I thought Cincinnati really dominated that, and the score was much closer than it should have been, but it made it interesting at least because I had really no rooting interest in it. But the Bengals won their first playoff game since 1990 in 31 years, and thus moving the Lions into the team with the longest playoff winning drought in not just football, not just the NFL, not just football, North American sports, all North American sports. They have the longest playoff win drought. So yet again, the Lions come up as they have not won a playoff game since it was actually January of 1992 when we defeated your Dallas Cowboys in the Silverdome.
That is correct.
I believe it was January 6th, if I remember that correctly, January 5th or 6th. But so yes, now the Lions own that dubious honor. So once again, somehow the Lions always come up even when they are far, far, far from the playoff picture. Somehow their name continuously comes up. I don't know if you have strong thoughts about that game or if you want to talk about the other games that happened on this super wild card weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that game, it went a little bit differently than I thought, but like you said, I don't know that the scoreboard is indicative of how much the Bengals really dominated that game. Yeah. But the nice part was the Raiders hung around. So to your point, who really cares? I just want to be entertained, when my team's not involved. So, the other game that day, and my 16 parlay was looking really good at that point. The Bengals had covered easily, and then the Bills took it.
Bill versus Bills.
Bills took it to Bill and fucking embarrassed them, and it was wonderful. It was quite wonderful.
They had 7 offensive drives in that game. They all ended in touchdowns for the first time in NFL history. They literally just ran over the Patriots. The final drive was a kneel down. They chose not to score, even though they could have. So
yeah, that was even better than I thought it would go. But
that's as big a beatdown as I can imagine.
The Bills, if I'm any team alive still, I don't want to play the Bills. I don't want to play the Bills defense. The Bills there was the Bills defense, and I think I may have brought this up last week, and there's the rest of the league. Because the Bills defense, from a yardage allowed standpoint, between 1 and 2, it's like a 30-yard difference. And that's an average. And that's a lot. So they can shut you down and
can move the ball. They can run the ball. That's the other point you made earlier. If you can run the ball, you've got a shot to dominate.
And they can run the ball not just with the running back. They have a pretty good running quarterback too there, in Josh Allen. So
Kind of knows what he's doing.
they're a scary football team.
I think equally scary, and another reason why you wouldn't want to play the Bills is the propensity for their fans to throw dildos onto the field.
Yes.
In one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I feel like this has happened before. I feel like we talked about this last year. Maybe it's happened in years past, where Bills, specifically in northern New York, upstate New York, there seems to be dildos landing on the field in the end zone somehow from Bills fans. It happened in this game after the Patriots actually scored one of their few touchdowns. The best part is the meme or the screen grab that's gone around social media is the Patriots receiver. I didn't see who it was, but you could see him pointing right at the dildo. There is a dildo on the field. I saw it and didn't understand what I was seeing at first. I thought there was a flag on the field, but the announcers weren't talking about a flag. And then I realized later that was a big rubber dick.
It sure was.
That just happened. So I'm not sure where the idea came from. If this is like a long time tradition from Bills Mafia that has just been carried on over the generations, or where it originated from, where the thought process comes from that you would, number one, own a giant dildo. Number two, you'd bring it to a football game. And number three, you would throw it onto the field. So I don't know if you could break down that thought process.
Well, I
certainly can't.
I think they just sell them at the game. So.
It's at the concession stand. They've got hawkers around.
Yeah.
Dildo.
Throw on the field dildo, $4.
So that was my most ridiculous favorite parts of the Super Wild Card weekend is we have dildos on the field in Buffalo, New York.
And that made it super wild for sure. I guess just running through it, I would say the game that kind of surprised me, well, the Rams game surprised me, but before that, I thought the Eagles were going to be a lot more competitive than they were because of how they played the Buccaneers. I forgot about
that game. That was so bad.
Because of how they played the Buccaneers the first time.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback, folks. I don't know that he's going to be. One of the ESPN social media, ESPN NFL social media loves to do like overreactions from the weekend. And it was Philly should draft a quarterback. And it was like not an overreaction, like according to their experts, like he's, normally like when a quarterback has legs and can run, they're pretty dangerous outside of the pocket. He is not.
Yikes.
He misses passes consistently, throws interceptions. He threw a ball way late when it looked like they were going to maybe march in and score before half. He threw the ball so late that it allowed the safety to get over from the other side of the field and intercept it. He literally ran 50 yards across the field in time to intercept the ball. I mean,
the question would be, is he better than Carson Wentz, who they gave up to get?
I think they're probably close to the same.
I think they're fairly similar. But.
Yeah, where it nets out, and where do they go from here? That's good for the Cowboys. It makes it again easy to win the division again. But like if you're an Eagles fan and watching this and watching. They had like an okay defense this year. They had issues. Every team, like you have to look at the games you lost too. Did they lose the game because they had 15 players out on COVID and stuff like that? There's so much to take into consideration when you're looking at records this year. I think part of the reason the Browns didn't make the playoffs was they had so many COVID issues this year. Like they just couldn't overcome them. They couldn't overcome them, but the Eagles came into this game pretty healthy and they didn't show up. So
maybe that's where I was giving the Tampa Bay defense more credit maybe than they deserve, because I thought they looked really good against Philly. Yeah. Maybe it's Philly's own ineptitude that was the reason for a lot of that perception.
And I think you hit it on the head too with we know the Buccaneers have a good offense, but we also know they've had trouble against good teams this year. And just like the Cowboys, actually, the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, I mean, there's a 1-game difference in their records in the regular season, and that was the Cowboys loss at the start of the year.
That was a great game, by the way.
It was a great game. It'll be interesting to see, like, playing the Cowboys in all 6 of their games against their divisional opponents look like unstoppable, right? Mm-hmm. So that's 6 wins right there. The Cowboys were 12-5. That means they went 6-5 against the rest of the field, right? So these are all things that need to be taken into consideration when we see these records. If you've got, so to speak, 6 wins built in right off the bat, that makes your chances of getting to the playoffs pretty easy when 9 wins gets you in.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like they talk about sports. You got your 6 divisional games. What are you going to do with everything outside of the division kind of idea? And while they were over 500 with the extra game, without the extra game, they're probably 500. So, anyway, I thought the Eagles were going to actually show up for more of that game, and they were just kind of manhandled and got so far behind that it was pretty impossible with the assets they have to climb back into that one. So,
the Chiefs, Chiefs Steelers, we haven't talked about.
That's the only one, and that went exactly like I thought it would.
Yeah,
Steelers are not a good football team.
No, the Lions tied them in Pittsburgh this year.
Yes,
that's all you need to know.
You don't need to talk to me about that game. I should have won money on that game, but
the Lions stop betting on the Lions for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No, it wasn't that game. It was the next week. Or 2 weeks later, when they were the only team in a 17 parlay that didn't cover. So that put the nail in the coffin.
I mean, that's on you at that point. I mean,
I guess
you can blame the Lions, but you should know better.
So should we do a quick look ahead to this week?
Yeah, we did a little bit, but yeah, why not? What are the matchups again? I need to be familiarized.
Saturday at 3:30 Central, we got the Bengals at the Titans. Is your boy back? Is Derrick Henry back in the lineup?
Yes, he is 100% back. Yes.
So
that's my boy. That's where
he's the horse you rode to almost 300 points against me in the fantasy.
He was out since October or since Halloween, and I still won the World of Pain Fantasy Football Championship. We did not speak of that last week. I failed to mention my surrender Cobras were triumphant. We're triumphant overall, making the rest of the league surrender.
That's true. Smitty still making moves to his team seconds before kickoff.
I was looking for a quarterback.
To get that win.
Quarterback. I didn't have my quarterback. I had Lamar Jackson was out. Of course, Derrick Henry is out. So I've been looking for running backs. I do have Jonathan Taylor, who was pretty still mediocre in the final game of the season against the Jaguars. It still worked out for me. I was looking for all sorts of things. I pulled it together, defeated you in the first round of the playoffs, and defeated Knopic, my arch nemesis in the Super Bowl. So I am yet again, I think it's my first fantasy football championship since 2005, maybe, because I feel like I definitely won it when I lived in California that year. But I don't know if I won it since. So congratulations to me.
Yeah, congratulations, Smitty. It was a deserved, I don't know, well-deserved, but it was a deserved victory.
I did it without Derrick Henry, but the Titans getting Derrick Henry back, they were already the number 1 seed. They had the bye week last week. Getting the best running back we've seen in a long time back on your roster. I mean, they're my Super Bowl favorite. We as in typical LDP fashion, we failed to make our Super Bowl picks before the playoffs started on last week's episode. So you and I texted back and forth before the playoff weekend started what our Super Bowl picks would be. So you people can believe us or not, but I just picked, it's real boring. I picked number 1 seeds. I love the Titans based on what I just said, that they're already the number 1 seed and they're getting the best potentially the best player in football back on their roster. I think they're going to mow through the AFC playoffs, except for the Bills. I think that could be an interesting matchup, hopefully coming in the AFC Championship. But NFC, I had the Packers. I don't like making that pick, but I think they are the best team in the NFC. I have the Packers losing to the Titans, though. But yeah, I don't know if you want to get into your picks or if you want to break down this Titans. Is it Titans Bengals this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of in both cases you got two really good running backs in this game. I think this could turn out to be a really boring game. This could be in my estimation, has the possibility to be like a 10-7 game or a 14-10 or something like that, because
those can be fun. I'd rather see a close game at least rather than a 30-point blowout. That's where I lose interest immediately. So, but
they're both going to try to control the clock and then use a running game to have play action open up the field. What the Bengals have though over the Titans offensively, while the Titans have a decent amount of receivers, they don't have the weapons that the Bengals have to get downfield. And so
Joe Burrow has emerged as, is he a top 5 quarterback in the league right now?
I think he's going to be a highly, definitely next year. Like when we do our picks again, I think Joe Burrow is going to be a sought after fantasy quarterback for sure. And that's in general, that's statistics, that get you to that. So,
I think I'm basing a lot of faith in that Derrick Henry in this matchup and going forward is going to be the old Derrick Henry, which we don't really know. He came back to practice in week 17, but he was not cleared to play. I think they could have, but they chose not to. So I'm basing the idea that he's going to be 100% on making them my Super Bowl pick, but that might not be the case. We'll see. But I think if he's 100% and effective as he can be, I think I see a similar game and a slugfest, rock fight, like a shitty November Big Ten matchup. Not much scoring, a lot of defense, a lot of running the ball. But if that's the case, I think that favors the Titans for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I don't know I didn't look up the spread. I think it's probably going to be close to a pick 'em. Probably will be 3. Probably around 3 to 5, but obviously Titans have the edge since they're at home and they had the week off. They're coming in, really healthy. A team that's not coming in healthy is the late night matchup, the 49ers at the Packers. The 49ers may have beaten the Cowboys by score-wise, but they left as the mash unit.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa probably will not play in this game. Is
it Joey or Nick? I get it confused every time.
Oh wait, is it Nick Bosa?
I think
maybe it is.
I think they said it wrong on the broadcast too.
All right,
it's Nick Bosa.
Okay, Nick Bosa may not play in this game, is what I should say.
Yeah, he looked pretty fucked up. It was a head injury, wasn't it?
It was like a neck stinger. So he ran into his own player going down, and his his head and everything went back awkwardly. Yeah. Garoppolo's banged up. He's going to be limited.
He's not very good either.
Yeah, he's not very good either. He'll be limited at practice this week. So that doesn't bode well. But, we say he's not very good, but there was like a statistic during that game when the 49ers are without him, they have like this terrible losing record of like 8 and I don't know, like 17 or something. But then with him, they're like 20 games over 500. So he definitely, maybe he's just like a good, he's not gonna. He's a game manager. He's not gonna wow you all that much. And then there's someone else that got hurt defensively on that side of the ball too. So they're gonna have some issues against the Packers. History
going to Green Bay, that's just brutal.
Yeah, and the only thing that is on their side is history. The Packers have not beaten the 49ers in their last 3 matchups. They are 0-3.
Really?
Yes.
Were those in San Francisco?
I don't know. That was just a
I'd be
stat thrown out
surprised if
there.
they're in Green Bay. I just don't see. I mean, that's my perception, I guess, but I just don't see San Francisco faring well in the frozen tundra in mid-January, late January.
Yeah. Obviously, if the Rams are going to play the Packers, I think that would be a lock because when the Packers played the Rams earlier in the season, they kind of just the Packers kind of controlled that game. It included a pick six by your boy Stafford. Packers defense picked them off, ran it in for a touchdown. That was the Packers' actually most convincing victory over any of the playoff contenders. I had kind of looked at that. Their other victories, like I think they beat Arizona by like 2 points. And then I have it here actually. Then they barely scraped by the 49ers actually. They beat the 49ers by 3. So
oh wow.
So it might be a more competitive matchup than we think it's going to be. I mean, if the 49ers can run the ball against the Packers, like they with Deebo Samuel, like they did against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's again, if they can keep Aaron off the field, then
That's the key.
even though he can score probably in like 35 seconds, but if they can keep him off the field and get some pressure on him and shake him up a little, it could be an interesting game, but I think the Packers obviously will win this one.
Well, we talked about the Rams and Tampa Bay Buccaneers game already, unless you had other thoughts about that. What was the final game of the weekend?
Well, the Bills go into KC. And,
oh, boy. That's going to be fun.
And the question is, will Mahomes be running for his life the entire game, as we've seen him against the Bills before? We've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen in big games where that caused the KC in the offseason after last year's Super Bowl to go out and get an entire new offensive line. Basically, they reshaped their offensive line. But, I mean, the Bills can get pressure, and if they can – And I'm pretty sure they'll be able to run the ball consistently against the Chiefs defense. This is gonna cause some issues for the Chiefs this weekend. And I hate to say this because of the person I'm dating is a huge Chiefs fan, but I think it's the Bills over the Chiefs this weekend.
Wow. I'm confused then because in our text messages this week you had Chiefs Cowboys.
Oh, I was actually
in the Super Bowl, or were you just joking?
I was joking around because of Robin.
Okay, I couldn't read sarcasm through text.
But messaging. I would have stuck with my preseason pick of the Bills and Cowboys before the outcome of the game.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking it's gonna be Bills Packers in the Super Bowl.
Wow. Bold. No, I think we both have the Packers in, which is unfortunate, but I think that idea that AFC Championship game between the Bills and the Titans would be that would be some fun. That would be another rock fight, but I think that'd be a fun matchup we might be talking about next week.
Hopefully.
Well, unless you had anything else, I think we can wrap this episode up.
Yeah, that's it.
This was episode 34 of the LDP, and this is, I believe, the first one we haven't talked about any college football in quite some time, so it's a little bit different show. We'll be breaking down the playoffs going forward. I'm sure somehow the Lions will come up in some bizarre way this weekend that I'll be able to talk about. Hopefully we'll have some USFL news to talk about next week, as my Michigan Panthers still do not have a coach. The USFL has not announced who the coaches will be for half the league. So I'm wondering what the fuck's going on there, but hopefully we have some news on that. So in the meantime, you can check us out on social media at LimpDitkas. You can find our merchandise at limpditkas.com. And you can find this podcast anywhere you'd like to find a podcast. So with that, I'm going to say this is Dagger Time. We out. Peace.
Peace.
Word Hole Media.